Starting our webinar on Welcome to the Tulane Community, a values-based discussion. On behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to congratulate and welcome our new entering cohort of students, the class of 2027, and their families. For a little fun icebreaker, we want to quiz you and ask, how well do you know the class of 2027? So we have a little quiz with these two questions. What's the furthest distance that a new student will travel to Tulane in August? And there's 3 options for answers. And what's the shortest distance a new student will travel to Tulane in August to begin the fall semester? With, again, 3 responses, 3 possible responses. So I'm going to launch this poll, and you'll see this on your screen. And you can, if you are using a mobile phone or a small device, it might be a little harder to see this, so you can maximize that so you can see it, but you can enter your answers now and we'll see how you do. So I'll give you a few moments to make your selection. So I'm going to give you just another moment. I'll kind of give you a last call and I'll end the poll soon. Okay, now I will share the results so you can see if you were correct. So the correct answer for the furthest distance is 10,019 miles, and the shortest distance is just 1 block over from campus. So this information came from a wonderful infographic that was shared in Tulane email last week. And I will send you the link to that article that was Class of 2027, Meet Tulane's Strongest Class Yet, so you can learn all of these different pieces of data about the incoming class. So I'm really happy to introduce my colleagues this evening, who are my wonderful colleagues in the Division of Student Affairs. First, Dusty Porter, who is the Vice President for Student Affairs. Dusty can kind of wave and show people who you are. Erica Woodley, who's the Associate Vice President for Student Resources and Support Services, and she serves as the Dean of Students. Carolyn Barber-Pierre, who is the Assistant Vice President for Intercultural Life. Laura Osteen, the Assistant Vice President for Campus Life, and Caesar Ross, who's the Assistant Vice President for Health and Wellness. So now I will turn things over to Erica to start the webinar content.
Hi, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. As Penny mentioned, I'm the Dean of Students at Tulane. Over the next several weeks, we will have webinars hosted by various colleagues on campus and departments, designed with the intention of preparing the students in the class of 2027 to make the transition to the Tulane community. This takes a village. No doubt for the students on the call, you've had folks supporting you on your journey to this point, and that does not stop with college. In fact, it probably intensifies a little bit. You will hear many, many, many times how we view families as partners in this experience. College is really an amazing time. You're going to have a great experience. You're going to have lots of new experiences. But it's also not always going to be easy. And so we are going to give you, whether you're a student or family member on this call, the tools to navigate the rough patches along with us. This webinar series is the first step. Tonight's webinar is focused on the Tulane values, and my colleagues are going to share with you how some of these values come to life on our campus. We want you guys after the webinar to take some time to think about what these values mean to you. Randomly, someone left a Tulane strategic plan from 1998 on my desk last week. I was actually in college in 1998, so I didn't have anything to do with writing it. But it's amazing to me how consistent our values have remained over time. These are who we are. You've no doubt heard what an impressive group this class is, and we couldn't be any happier that you're joining our community. From this point forward, the students on the call, represent Tulane, and that comes with some responsibility, and you're going to hear about that over the next few weeks. And I really, I know some people won't be able to make all of the webinars, but I really want to encourage you to make the ones you can. And if you can't make it live, try to watch it later. There really is some valuable information in these webinars, and some of the information is tonight, like, more abstract and kind of thoughtful pieces, but there's also a lot of nuts and bolts kind of information that you're going to need as you make the transition to Tulane. You'll notice that we aren't covering all of the values tonight, and that is not because they are more or less important. We could talk all night about these values, but experience tells us that people actually don't like all-night webinars. And so we focused on just a few, and our hope is that once we sort of show you how these values come to life with our examples, you'll actually be able to see it with the others. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague.
Good evening, friends. My name is Laura Osteen, and it's an honor to be with you this evening. I am going to kick us off with our value of leading for a better tomorrow. And it is one of my favorites because leadership, both the practice of it and the learning of it, is one of the places where I spend a significant amount of time. I believe strongly in both the mission of Tulane and the purpose, actually, of higher education as the ability to develop students' capacity to create change. I also think that sometimes what we do in our environments is give students an opportunity to think about what change is it that they care most about. And so the both and of developing the skills and the capacity and building upon the skills and capacity they already have. We are, as Erica said, we are well aware that those of you who are coming and those of you who are family of folks who are joining us this fall have already done amazing change initiatives. It is our goal to meet you where you are and move you forward from there. We believe leadership is a problem-solving experience. And they're really complex problems, and that activity of solving is actually what moves us forward for a better tomorrow. That because it's an activity, it's actually a skill that we can practice. It's something that we can all individually and collectively get better at. And so as I think about the skill of Tulane and the value of leading for a better tomorrow, I actually think about those as three different ways to get better. One, leading, and at its essence is about relationships. And so I think about, for the students on the call and for the families on the call, the incredible new people that you're going to meet. And at its core, building relationships with new people is in essence helping you become a better leader. And so we look forward to finding ways to connect you with as many different people as possible that allow you then to find your new home, your new community, your new group who will help you think better. The leading for a better tomorrow, better means we actually are paying attention to what's happening in the world, that we are noticing, that we are observing. And from those observances, we are paying attention to what matters to us. What is the better world we want to create? And that's the tomorrow. So leading for a better tomorrow means that we actually take time to envision what tomorrow could look like. And that could be 24 hours with a group of friends. It could be 24 hours in the family and how we lead as a collective familial unit and what is necessary for each other. It can also be light years away and how someone might want to transform our world in the way we exist. At its core, getting better also means just getting better at ourselves. And that's actually what we commit to each of you. That by saying yes to Tulane, we say yes to you, and we show up to offer opportunities for you to develop those capacities to the best of your ability. I think about the joke about how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. I think the same is true for how we want to change the world. Practice, practice, practice. And so that's what we're going to create at Tulane, an environment where you get to practice, your student gets to practice as much as they possibly want. That happens through leadership classes and courses courses that are in a series. Sometimes they're just one-off, sometimes there are programs you can build over years together with faculty. You do that through student organizations and literally creating practice through meetings, through initiatives, through projects, through student governance and shared governance that happens across the undergraduate experience in both colleges and departments, as well as a collective unified whole. As you well know, service learning is a hallmark here at Tulane, and through service learning, our students truly get to grasp what is the challenges that we face here in our local community and here on our campus at Tulane. As I think about the hands-on experiential opportunities, I think about practice with very real impact. And one of the ideas that comes to my mind is the glass half full. It is New Orleans' only glass recycling. And just as of 3 years ago, New Orleans did not have glass recycling. This entire organization and business started with 2 Tulane students in a conversation after service learning class, and it started in the student organization backyard. What they started then as students now is our city's recycling opportunity for glass, and over 1 million pounds of glass last year they saved from the landfill. And so it's practice and it's real, and it's what we are going to create opportunities for students to find what they're curious about and the problems they want to solve. I'll close with one last thought, and that thought is that leadership is a collective. It is about that opportunity to work and learn with others. There are very important things that each of us do in our own lives by ourselves, but if you can do it by yourself, it is not leadership. It might be very important, but leadership is the collective experience of moving us forward in an evolutionary way, and that takes more than one perspective. It also makes me think about coming out of high school and K through 12, when as soon as you say group project, I might lose everybody on this call. Leadership is in many ways a group project. And it makes me think of the classic phrase that we can go faster alone, but farther together. And I offer to you tonight that at Tulane, we invite you to go slower so that you can go farther. And that we want to create an opportunity for you to connect with other folks, learn more about the world and what most interests you and what you envision and how we can get there together. We look forward to living this value with you and your ideas. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carolyn Barber-Pierre, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for the Center for Intercultural Life. My value is inclusive community. And when I think about inclusive community, I think about a community that transcends race and class and religion, orientation and political, as well as generational. A community that ensures inclusion, a sense of belonging. It reflects the equity of opportunity, as well as the ability for all members to come together and agree upon a set of social standards that give us the ability where everybody can thrive. As new students at Tulane, you are starting a new chapter in life, different from your family, from your friends, from your high school, from your hometown. You're going to be meeting people, faculty, staff, and your peers from all over the world, people who hold various identities, a diversity of thought, people who may be of a different race or orientation or religion, be from a different place or a different generation. You will have many opportunities, I think, to meet, learn, and work with these diverse populations. From your classroom, on your research projects, to your service learning courses, the people that you'll live with in the residence halls, as well as the students' organizations that you may join during your tenure here at Tulane. Our diversity is what makes us great. We encourage you to help build that inclusive community, both on and off campus. And I say yes when I say off campus, because during your tenure here, you are considered a New Orleans resident, a native of an amazing, culturally stimulating, community. We want to ask each of our new community members, especially our freshmen, to be open, to be respectful, even though you may not share that same identity or hold those same views. College is a time when you have many opportunities to explore diversity, to talk about diversity, and to think about opportunities that may challenge and support you to connect across that difference throughout your time at Tulane. I really encourage you to embrace it. Yes, and we know that there are times we may falter and say the wrong things, which may offend. And I've done it, other people have done it. Maybe it's not our intent, but we need to think about the impact of our words and how they affect and how they are received by others. But again, this is a learning experience. So don't shy away from it, learn from it and grow. That's the only way you become, your true authentic self, but you also understand others. We will intentionally create opportunities and experiences for you to grow in this area. So I encourage you to take advantage of them. Just because there might be a program that's sponsored by a specific office or an organization that focuses on a specific identity, don't think you can't attend. Take a leap of faith and go to something that you wouldn't necessarily attend. Do something different. Expand your mind and your heart. But I also need to know, that we take diversity and inclusion very seriously. Acts of egregious bias, prejudice, or racism will not be tolerated and may be subject to disciplinary action, including cyberbullying. So just keep that in mind. We want you to have a safe and amazing experience. Tulane has so much to offer, and we encourage you to take advantage of everything. Find your niche, your pod, or your posse. Make the most of this time. It is the most memorable and most important 4 years of your life. You will decide on your career, your friends, your values. So I hope you have an amazing experience. So I say good luck, and I look forward to working with you this fall. Thank you so much.
Caesar, we need you to start over and unmute. There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Caesar Ross, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Campus Health and Wellness. And my value is collaborative engagement. And again, I welcome all of you to this evening's conversation. Collaborative engagement. I'm going to start with a definition offered by Tulane University, which reads, Tulane is rooted in the idea that looking outwards leads to impactful, real-world solutions that make a difference in the lives of others. We believe students learn through collaborative engagement, through their interactions, collaborations, and discussions with other students, faculty, and staff. Students are encouraged in collaborative ways at Tulane, devote more energy to their academics, spend time on campus, participate actively in student organizations, and interact often with faculty. For students, collaborative engagement can begin in their residence halls. In their living learning communities, students are encouraged to get to know one another from different races, gender identities, abilities, and family backgrounds. Students who live in residence halls have more time and opportunities to engage in all aspects of campus life. Simply eating, sleeping, and spending their waking hours on campus gives residential students, compared to commuter students, more opportunities to collaboratively engage with our community and develop strong affinity and attachment to campus life. Collaborative engagement can begin with joining fraternities, sororities, clubs and organizations, as well as participating in peer-to-peer mentoring programs or extracurricular activities that lead to receiving specialized training as a TU peer health and wellness educator and/or an emergency medical services assistant, as illustrated in the photos. Collaborative engagement can also begin with participating in intramural activities, club sports, and intercollegiate sports, or participating in undergraduate research projects with your faculty member or professor. And collaborative engagement can begin with holding a part-time job on campus. And campus recreation is one of the largest employers of students on campus. While the collaborative engagement opportunities shared may seem to take time and energy away from your academic pursuits, students who spend more time on campus are more likely to come in contact with other students, professors, and university staff. And research suggests that student involvement or collaborative engagement increases and/or improves students' chances to persist and/or aspire to pursue graduate or professional degrees, improves the students' interpersonal and intellectual self-esteem. It can also improve student satisfaction with all aspects of their campus life, including overall institutional experiences. Collaborative engagement takes on many forms at Tulane University, and all collaborative engagement opportunities support the student academic experience in many meaningful ways. Through collaborative agreement, we hope that our students' contributions to society are evident in the lives they transform and the problems they help us to solve together. Therefore, students are encouraged to collaboratively engage, learn from each interaction, attend campus events, be intentional about fostering connections, and while in person, talk and interact with one another, create trust, and develop a better understanding of others and the world in which we live.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Good evening, everybody. I am Dusty Porter, the Vice President for Student Affairs here at Tulane, and I want to join my colleagues in congratulating, if you are a student, congratulations. We are so excited to be welcoming you to our community, and if you're a family member, we also are welcoming you because you are now part of the Tulane community of our parents and family members. And we are excited that we'll be seeing you on campus over the next 4 years. The value that I get to speak briefly about tonight, the fourth and final value, is inspiring excellence. And what you may know, if you read some of our collateral about Tulane's origins, is that Tulane historically has always been outward focused. And that value actually thread through some of the other presentations by my peers. And the reason for that is because we actually were created as Louisiana Medical College to train doctors to go fight yellow fever in Central and South America. And that ethos of being outward focused and working with our students to think about change that you heard about from Dr. Osteen has really stayed with us as we think about what it means as a university to be cultivating students and inspiring them to excellence. I've been at Tulane as the vice president for 9 years, and it's been an amazing time to be here because I've had the chance to work with President Fitz and the leaders across campus as I've watched us continue to evolve as really one of the nation's premier research universities. And as you may know, we are a member at Tulane of the highly selective American Association of Universities, the AAU, which is the nation's top public and private institutions of higher education focused on research to tackle the biggest problems of our time as a nation, whether that's medical innovations, whether that is climate change, whether that is focusing on new technologized society with artificial intelligence. And you as a student or your son or daughter as they come here are joining, in essence, a vast sort of amazing ethos of research and change makers. We are also a university that fosters grit. You know, time and again, Tulane has come back from major challenges like Hurricane Katrina, more recently, Hurricane Ida, even the COVID pandemic, when, unlike many of our peer institutions, we stayed open and we kept going. We are a campus that is kind of about grit, and we're part of a city that is actually synonymous with that same grit and persistence. And if you watch Tulane play and win the Cotton Bowl this year, you may know what I'm talking about around grit and persistence. And one of the most exciting parts of that experience of being in that stadium was watching our student athletes persist and find that grit and to keep going to win that game. One of my favorite photos on this slide is in the bottom left corner. D.H.A. Spencer was this year's undergraduate speaker at our Tulane commencement ceremony just a few weeks ago. And D.H.A. was chosen because of their commitment to making change at Tulane in an area of our Student Government Association. Through their efforts of D.H.A., Tulane conducted a deep dive on its student government structure and came up with an entirely new framework for how students can engage and advocate with the campus leadership on what they believe is important at Tulane. This summer, D.H.A. will be serving as a fellow at the International Economic Development Council. And I think D.H.A. has kind of modeled a lot of the values we've heard about tonight in regards to inclusion, what it means to be a change maker, how we inspire excellence. And in many ways, I think D.H.A. embodies these values. And I know that you as students or parents of students will have those same opportunities. So what does this mean in terms of inspiring excellence for you as students or parents of students? Well, it means that you'll be joining an academic community of scholars and practitioners that really aim high to make a difference, and to make a difference in the city of New Orleans, in the Gulf Coast region, in the United States of America, as well as internationally. What does that look like? Well, it might begin, you might be a student that is part of a research project at the Tulane Brain Institute that's looking at, what we know about the brain and brain science. It might begin as part of a research project or an internship or getting experience at Tulane's River and Coastal Center, which is, of course, looking at the mighty Mississippi River that flows right through the city, but also some of our real challenges with loss of the bayou and the Gulf Coast as part of climate change. It might be giving a presentation as part of a team, and Dr. Osteen, I believe, mentioned group work, but one of my great examples of Tulane in Action was a student team that represented Tulane University at NASA a couple of years ago. They gave a presentation on ideas about the future of spaceflight, which Tulane won the competition, and we don't even have an aerospace program. And so all of those are examples of what it might look like as you join a community that's about inspiring excellence. We hope you, your student, find the passion that's most important to them while they're here. You're going to find many opportunities to engage around existing initiatives, but as Dr. Osteen noted with Glass Half Full, you can also start your own initiative. And that's one of the amazing things about Tulane is we cultivate students that find their own passion and want to really make a difference in areas that they really care about. So we're constantly changing and constantly evolving based on how our students are telling us what they want to focus on. One of the goals of this program, as I turn it back over to Penny and Dean Woodley, is that we wanted you to have a chance to see all of our faces as the leadership team in student affairs. Although we're talking tonight about values, each of us, each of the 5 of us are responsible for the portfolio of 14 departments on campus. And as you begin your journey as a student or as a parent of a student, if at any point there are ways that we can help you and you as a student or you as a parent navigate this amazing, wonderful, complex university that we call Tulane, we hope that you will call on us to do so. So with that, let me turn it back over to Penny Wyatt and Erica Woodley.
So now while you're absorbing my colleagues' insight and encouragement about our values, we have a short activity for you to kind of just give your brain a little break. So we're going to do a quiz. So you are probably already aware of the fact that live music is a huge part of New Orleans culture that Tulane embraces. So let's see if you know anything about this history or if you can guess. So this quiz is a live music for a good cause quiz. And the question is, which of these artists performed at the Soul Bowl in 1970 at the Tulane Stadium as a fundraiser for scholarships for Black students? So you see the 4 options for responses there below. And then I will launch this poll so that you can select your answer. Oops, sorry. So take a moment and put in your selection. Let's see how many people get the right answer. We know that our students are really smart, but they were not born yet in 1970. Some of the parents might not of that generation. So let's see how good you are at answering this. So I'm going to make one last call for you to type in your selection, and then I'll end the poll. Okay, here we go. I will share the results. And you should see that all of those wonderful performers were a part of that historic concert. And I would love to share with you that we still have all kinds of other elements of Tulane's history that kind of follow along in this vein. And so I will offer more background on Soul Bowl and ongoing support for students of color and current scholarship fundraising concerts that we have. And so I'll send that information to you, and it'll be a part of the slides, and you'll be able to find that. So you can read a full story about the history of Soul Bowl, and you can learn more about Black student life at Tulane by visiting an exhibit that's called I Shall Not Be Moved, Black Student Life at Tulane, 1963 to 2023. And that exhibit will be in the Howard Tilton Memorial Library Special Collections Gallery during fall 23 at move-in, and it'll still be there at Family Weekend in October, which is part of our Wave 23 weekend. And this year marks the 60th anniversary of the desegregation of Tulane. And that anniversary will be recognized during Wave Weekend. There's also more history that you can learn through what we have as the Tulane University History Project, which is a long-term effort to research and develop a detailed history of the university and its campuses with respect to its racial history and founding, including the impacts from segregation and slavery. But here at Tulane now, we still love live music for a good cause, and you can join in that too. If you join us for Tulane's 7th annual Tipping Point concert, which is a fundraiser on Friday, October 20th during Family Weekend, which is part of Wave 23. It benefits student scholarship support and features a rock star lineup of talent from New Orleans and beyond, performing live from the Fillmore in New Orleans. You'll be able to purchase Tipping Point tickets when Wave 23 registration opens later this summer. So think about joining in that and being part of this whole effort. So now that we've had that little break, I hope you enjoyed that and you learned a little bit more about Tulane. I want to share some additional information that students, parents, and families often request. So I've compiled some information here for you on this slide. And again, we will have these slides available as well as the recording of the webinar on the Family Programs website, so you can refer back to this later. But our panelists briefly described experiences, expectations, resources, and support for adopting Tulane's values. However, this is just the beginning of the introduction of that content to students, and some panelists did describe that. You'll see from this list that we intentionally sequence opportunities for students to learn more about these aspects of Tulane's core values. That education begins now before students arrive through things like their newsletters and the new student modules they're doing, and even your own Tulane Talk webinar follow-up with your family conversation. And then those things tee up very specific activities for new students at the beginning of the year that are within the Hullabaloo Hello programming that goes from move-in to September 1st. It doesn't stop there. However, intentional signature programs from many departments throughout the year revisit these themes of these values. Many departments separately and collaboratively promote these themes, the programs, and resources to support students in adopting and living out these values. The last category is one of my favorites because I think it's one of the best ways that we support students at Tulane, and that's by training upper division students to serve as guides, peer mentors, and professionals. The goal of this list is to demonstrate how the learning and support is ongoing. And each of our subsequent Tulane Talks webinars this month will contain a similarly organized list. So you can see how what we're doing now and what we hope you will begin to talk about with your family is just the beginning of this and something that you can, your student can build on this foundation. Similarly, we continue to offer more support for parents and families. So again, you can always access these webinar recordings and the slides on the webinar archive in the Family Programs website if you can't join us live. And then I would like to take a moment just to ask for you to please use official Family Programs and Tulane University sources for information and support, including emails from different campus departments, the website, the family newsletters, and these webinars. I know that there are some unofficial online groups out there, and while that might be helpful for some kinds of information, like somebody's favorite restaurant in New Orleans or a good place, good hotel that they've used, the best place to find current specific information about policies and procedures is from the current information that we send you or that you can find on our website. Sometimes well-meaning parents of older students offer directions that might be outdated because we are constantly refining and updating and improving some of those policies and procedures. So we want to make sure that you know exactly what is current. So please tune into us for that support and information. And then we hope you'll join the remaining Tulane Talks and other topical webinars and tutorials later this summer And those also go on through the academic year. And then on your students move-in day, either August 13th, 14th, or 15th, visit the Family Resource Station we'll have in the afternoon from 1 to 4. And then join our big family welcome event that we'll have at 5 p.m. And then Carolyn Barber-Pierre's Center for Intercultural Life will also have an orientation following that. And then we do hope that you'll come back and visit for family weekend. So we just want you to know that while students live here and they're immersed in all of the support and programming and opportunities for growth, we also want parents and families to be partners with us in supporting them. And the best way we can do that is by keeping you informed and educated about what Tulane offers. So now I would like to turn things over to Erica again.
And I'm going to wrap us up pretty quickly. I think you'll see the slide has some suggestions for how to talk about this content with as a family or with your student later. And these are just some suggested questions. You can actually do it in whatever way you want and wherever and however you like to do it. With each of these webinars, there are some points of follow-up, and we do want you to have some conversations. Many of you are probably sending your first student away to college, but some of you've probably, you're old pros at this now. No matter what the case, each situation is a little bit different. And so we recommend that you have, a conversation about what matters and what's important to your family, and things like communication, and they're going to give you a whole lot of things to talk about, but this is just the first one. You can go to the next slide, Penny. Oh, that is the last slide. So as we wrap up, I think, Dr. Porter mentioned this, but I think it's really important. This is the beginning of something really kind of magical for you all, whether you're a student or a family member. I'm wrapping up my 20th year at Tulane, and I can tell you it's a really special place. And again, not to say that it's going to be smooth sailing the whole time, but it's a really special place, and you're going to be part of a really interesting and cool community as a student or as a family member. We are here to help you. And that's one of the beautiful things about Tulane, is that you have access to not only the folks on this call, but other webinar hosts and participants that you'll meet. We're all just an email or call away. And so if there's ever a point where you're confused about something, or something doesn't make sense, or you think we've lost our minds, reach out to us and talk to us and engage. We depend on that in order to be the best versions of ourselves. And so, and I think students need, again, kind of the village perspective. And so if you take nothing from this webinar, what we hope you take is that piece of information and who we all are, and that we're always just a phone call or email away. With that, thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you have a lovely evening, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need us.